Hi, today I am here with author Jessica Wakefield, and she's from Australia. First for me to meet with Jess. Jessica, welcome.
Hi, Jennifer. Nice to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you too. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm in a city called Newcastle, which is 2 hours north of Sydney. You have to give a Sydney reference. So,
Yes.
and we're like a mid-sized city, I suppose. I live 20 minutes from the beach, so Newcastle's a beach city, but we live in the outer suburb. I'm married to who I call, his name is Ben, and he is who I call the calmest man alive. It's very, very hard to make this man stress about anything, which is great. That's why I married him. And I have two daughters, Elena and Anna. They are 13 and 6. And we have a dog. You call them golden doodles in the US.
Yes.
We call them groodles.
You call them what?
Um,
Brutal.
groodles. Groodles.
Okay, so how does that mix? So golden doodles is a golden retriever mixed with a
Yes.
poodle.
A
So where do
poodle,
you
yes.
get
So we
Brutal?
are a golden retriever. I suppose it's the GR, golden retriever, GR, with the
Oh,
poodle, Groodle.
oh, wow. That's
Groodle.
different.
But
Okay.
she's a mini. She's a mini
Oh,
one. She's
oh,
not a
nice.
massive one. And yeah, we just live in the suburbs and have a pretty quiet life. My kids go to local schools, which is very nice. And I write books while they're at school.
Well, so you're being in Australia, you're coming in on your summer, is that correct?
Yes, we are currently in spring and we're, I think, doing what everyone else in the world's doing with whatever weather season they're in. We're swinging wildly from really hot to really cold days. Like, and I've heard you guys had a very, very hot summer.
It depends on where you are in the States. So I'm in Middle
Okay.
Tennessee. So
Okay.
kind of in the South, and we have warm, sometimes humid, but you go any south, much farther south, it's very humid. You go north,
Right.
it's less humid. It just depends. I mean, we're all over the place. So I'm sure Australia's the same way. Your weather changes depending on where you are in that country.
Yeah, well, the further north you go here, you get very hot and humid, and further south you go, it gets colder.
Okay, so it's like this
Pretty standard
difference
too.
for us. You go north, you get cold. You go south, you get
Yes,
warm.
that's right.
So
Yes, just
now that
flip
you
it.
think of all
Flip
that,
it.
just flip it. So tell us, Jess, how you started writing. What that looked like for you. Where have you always wanted to write? Is it something that just came to you later on in your life, or how did that work for you?
Um, I'm going to show my age. I mean, which I'm only 40, which is not old,
You're a
but we
baby.
had a typewriter. We had a typewriter, and I would type out these little stories when I was about 9. And I found one a few years ago, and I was laughing. It was so bad. I don't even remember what it was about. I think though, like I've always been fascinated by like literary characters. Like I watched the Megan Follows Anne of Green Gables
Mm-hmm.
younger, and I used to write like Anne and Gilbert poetry and wander around my backyard with a basket pretending to be Anne. And I
Mm-hmm.
read Little Women when I was probably 12, and I was like, I love Joe. I was Joe. I was the feisty tomboyish kid with a big imagination who didn't stop talking and who made reckless decisions similar to Anne. I giant imagination, just kept opening my mouth and said all sorts of stuff that you shouldn't say. I'm an adult now, and I've learned to like curb some of that.
You're filtering yourself a little bit, huh?
Yes, that's right. Not everyone needs to know every thought that goes in my head. Um, and I think I
That's
mean, it's a
funny.
hard lesson to learn sometimes, but I think I was always a reader. Like I was a Sweet Valley High reader, and if you've picked up on my name, it's I share the same name as one of the twins, Jessica Wakefield from Sweet Valley, and to this day, I still get people going, oh, "You have the same name as Jessica from Sweet Valley." Yes, I do. I used to actually get fan mail when I was about 15 because my email back then was Jessica Wakefield, blah blah blah. So I'd have like 12-year-old girls
How funny.
emailing me going, "Oh my goodness, it's Jessica. I love your book so much." And I'm like, "Oh, it's not a real person, darling."
How cute. But Wakefield is your maiden name then, is that correct?
It is,
Is
yes,
it?
it is. I chose to write under my maiden name.
Yeah. Well, if you
So,
have a connection like that, why wouldn't you?
well,
I
that's
mean,
right.
you've
That's
already got
right.
a little connection. Why, you know?
Yep. No, that's right. And I think it's fun.
Yeah.
And I like my married name, but also really like my maiden name. And I didn't want to like let it go completely.
Okay, so now I need to know what your married name is.
Collier.
Well, that's a nice name.
There's
But
nothing wrong with it.
Wakefield,
Absolutely nothing wrong with
no,
it. But
Wakefield's good.
Wakefield's good. It's just Wakefield.
It flows.
Sorry?
It flows.
It does. It flows. It does flow. So fast forward, like I used to read a lot of books. Like I read Danielle Steele books when I was 15, and I shouldn't have been reading Danielle Steele books at 15.
Not sure anybody would be reading Danielle Steele books even now.
No, you're right. But definitely not at 15.
No.
So I was obviously I was looking for romance books. I don't think I realized that. So it wasn't until 2009 when I picked up a Denise Hunter book from our local Christian bookstore. And it was in the sales bin. And I'm like, this looks good. It was called Sweetwater Gap. And I read it and I was like, this is what I want to do. Because I'd done writing at university. So I spent so much time with Americans, I'm starting to say college.
Well, we say,
instead of
we say
university.
college. Yep. We don't say university.
No, we say university. Anyway, so I did writing at university. I did well, and I had one of we call them tutors, our class tutor. I don't know what you call them, professors. I don't know. And he told me to keep going. I could actually be really good at this. So I've kept that note that he gave me, and I've got it somewhere in my office. And so it was in 2009 when I found Denise Hunter's book. I finally figured out what I wanted to write, but then I had kids. So I was writing in between having kids, and ran a book reviews blog with my sister for a few years, which was all focusing on Christian fiction. And then I decided about 2014, no, it's just time to stop reviewing books and start writing books. And I mean, that was 2014 and we're 2023 and I've only just put this baby out.
The Christmas box. Yes. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to have links to that on your show, in your show notes. And we're going to have the cover and everything else all splattered all over the place for you.
Thank you. So the Christmas box. So I'd written a couple of other things, like nothing published yet, trying to get an agent. And it was all going, agents take a long time to get back to you, all that stuff. You just get used to the waiting. And 2020, as we all know, came and upended the world. And being in Australia, we had lockdowns more so than other places. Now, where I live in New South Wales, we only had the one national lockdown that the whole country had, which I think was for 6 or 8 weeks. I can't even remember anymore. And then we had a big one in 2021, which was 9 weeks for where I lived, where we could not leave our local government area. And I actually, it's going to sound crazy, I had to take ID with me when I went around for walks so that they could confirm if anyone stopped me.
Serious?
If I was outside my local government area. So I cracked it a little. Things started going downhill by the end of that particular lockdown. And we sailed into 2022, so last year. And things were very bad. I was having anxiety. Apparently, I didn't know this. I've had anxiety my whole life, but didn't actually know. And I think it was the lockdown, the whole thing that really brought it forward, and it triggered it quite spectacularly. And we got to January 2022 and I was sitting on the floor of a lolly shop by this river, trying to fight off a full-blown panic attack. And the woman at the store was like, are you okay? Yeah, sort of, not really. So, I went on medications and, I started to get better. My eldest has anxiety and she went on medications, except they did not help her. They actually made her worse. And she was full on struggling. So I'm trying to get better. She's going downhill. And where I'm trying to write a book. I'm trying to write a 90,000 word book. And I could not do it. I would sit at my computer and stare at it and nothing. And then I'd start panicking because I can't write. I'm like, oh no. So I eventually just went, no, stuff this, put it aside. And I thought, I just want to write something little. I thought I can write a 10,000 word story. So I wrote one of the first books in here, which was the one set in 1995. I wrote one and it's 10,000 words. And I'm like, oh, I can do that. Oh, that's really cool. And then I thought, oh, maybe I can do another one set it 10 years later. So I wrote another one, and that's 17,000 words, that one. And that's set in
Almost twice as long.
2005. Yeah, twice as long, set in 2005. And then I thought, I'm going to do another one. So I did another one. That's 14,000 words set in 2015.
Now
so one of them,
they're all connected by a box. Is that correct?
yes, that's right. They're all connected by a box. So I guess this book represents some triumph in a time where, there was no functioning. There was barely any functioning in our house, like barely anything going on. And it was just like a little light of a ray of hope in the midst of a very difficult time in our family. And I mean, my husband was a rock for the whole thing. My youngest daughter was like, what's going on? she was like 5, no idea what's really going on, while mum and big sis are trying to sort our brains out, really.
Right.
She had to go off meds to get better. I had to stay on them to get better. And lots of emotional coaching going on, helping everyone sleep. Like, because I would be like, I'm not going to sleep every night. I'd be like, I can't sleep. Now God was very gracious. I slept every night. Every night.
Good.
And I know some people with anxiety don't. They that's one of the biggest things. When night hits, you can't sleep.
Right.
And God was so gracious. I slept every night. But yeah, so the Christmas box really is a representation of achievement in what was a dark time. And like, I didn't have to release it this year. I just thought, you know what? No, I'm going to, like, and I knew then that I would then start my independent publishing career. And it was really funny. I put this little book out, and then 3 weeks later I had 80 copies in my house, selling them locally. And I suddenly went from being someone who wrote, while my kids are at school, 2 or 3 hours a day, to running a small business. I'm having to do tax stuff. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? I'm not used to this. But it's good, and I've been really enjoying it, actually. And the book is, people locally who've read it, they all love it. I made someone cry, and I was like, oh, like in a good way.
That's a good
nice
way.
tears.
Yeah, that's good.
Happy tears.
That's right.
But it's really nice when you hear feedback from someone to say, it's just such a sweet book, that just, because I wanted it to be something that just makes people smile, laugh a little bit, just escape, because Christmas is busy, Christmas is stressful. It's also why I chose to do 3 shorter ones, so people have time to just sit and go, oh yeah, like, and you can read one story in one sitting and then come back the next day and read the next one.
Nice.
So it's a nice little package that I really hope readers enjoy.
Now, had you written, you said you had been working on a 90,000 word
yes
before that. So are you going to revitalize that and finish that?
Yes, I did finish the first draft probably back in July, because I wrote the Christmas box last year. So I did finish that. The draft I started last year, I did finish it this year. I was like, no, I'm going to finish it, even if it needs to be completely rewritten later. I want to get to the end on the first draft, just to know that it's done. And I will rewrite that. I'm currently writing another book I wrote a few years ago to be published next year. That's my current thing. And I'm also writing the Christmas box volume 2.
Oh, nice.
Because there's been some interest, and I can use some of the characters and put their siblings into other stories. And I'm going to take one of the books to Australia, one of the stories to Australia.
Oh, nice.
And have the box travel to Australia.
So now, where are the books set? In the Christmas box? Where are those books
Christmas
set?
box. So 1995 one is set in Kansas, and it's a Friends to More story. The 2005 one is set in a little cabin in Connecticut, and it's a enemies to lovers kind of snowed in one. And then the 2015 one, I sometimes forget which dates they are, is set in New York. And I wanted to, and that's a fake dating one. I love the fake dating trope. I think it's hilarious to play with. Yeah, and that's about a Greek girl having to take a fake boyfriend to her sister's engagement party because her family will, like, try and set her up with everyone.
Now, have you
And
ever been
she's
to these
like,
places that you set the stories, or did you do it all on
no,
computer
I
research?
did it all online. I have been to the US twice, which have enjoyed thoroughly both my trips. No, I haven't though. So I spent, like, my Google search history was like Wheatfields in Kansas. What does a cabin in Connecticut look like? And making up a fictional town in Connecticut that's far away from somewhere. Because in Australia, I grew up 6-hour drive from the beach. So if you want to go anywhere, you have to drive for hours. And I know on the East Coast, it's not quite the same. I know if you go
Right.
out to Montana and, the bigger states like that, it's much longer distance. It's much more like Australia. But on the East Coast, it's not. So I'm like in my little Google Maps going, what's a fictional, I can make up something in Connecticut that's far enough away from like a bigger town. And I think it works. I don't know. When people read it, they can tell me.
Yeah, on the East Coast, go through 3 states in 3 hours, easy,
Yes.
or more. We've done that, done road trips, but you go back to the West Coast and it takes you 12 hours to get from one end of California to the other.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
if you're going the long way. So yes, it's quite different. Where we live now in Tennessee, which is considered the South,
Yeah.
we have 8 states that border us. So we can be in Alabama an
Yes.
hour, or Kentucky an hour, or Arkansas, or North Carolina, or they're all around. So it's
That's
really
kind of cool.
It's very cool.
That's cool.
Very different.
I do like that.
So when you visited the states, where did you visit? Do you remember?
My first trip was in 2014. I took my then 3-year-old, that's my oldest. We hopped on a plane to visit friends who were living in Alexandria, Virginia.
Oh, nice. That's a beautiful place.
It is. I fell in love with Alexandria, Virginia. The book I wrote after when I came home was set in there. That'll be released in a year or two.
Did you ever see the movie? Ever see the movie Remember the Titans?
No, I have not. I've heard of it, but
An
I haven't
old
seen
movie,
it.
fabulous movie, was set there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then
I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, you would love it. Do you like Denzel Washington? You'll love it.
I do like Denzel. Who doesn't like Denzel Washington?
I know, really, seriously. It's a very good. I was teaching middle school when that movie came out, and I took students from California all the way back to Washington D.C. and we, as on the bus during the tour, they put on that movie, and so the kids were excited to drive through Alexandria, Virginia, while we were there. So it was kind of cool. Yeah,
that is cool. That really is cool.
And then
so I went to, which was actually last year. So after coming off that really bad year, I got the opportunity to attend the American Christian Fiction Writers Conference in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So I jumped on a plane by myself and had a whirlwind 2 weeks. I went to the conference, jet lagged, like nothing else.
How long of a flight was that?
It's 13 hours from Sydney to LA. And then from LA, I had to fly to Dallas, Fort Worth, which is like, 4 hours on a plane? Can't quite remember. And then another flight from Dallas to St. Louis.
Oh my God.
3 flights just to get there. Not a lot of sleep.
No.
And then after the conference, I went to Breckenridge for a couple of nights with a friend, and we did a bit of a road trip around Breckenridge. We saw Vale, I'm having a total blank. Oh my goodness, it's one of the there's 2 towns in Colorado that claim to be the highest elevated towns.
No, I'm not. I should know Colorado. My brother lived there for years, but I don't.
Anyway,
Denver's a mile high city.
It is, yes. I got to drive through Denver. Didn't stop, but I was like, hello, Denver.
And goodbye, Denver.
But yeah, so a couple of nights in Breckenridge, we went and saw the Rocky Mountain National Park, which is just stunning. And then I flew after Denver, Colorado, I flew to Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
And my writing mentor, her name is Candace Calvert, she lives in Sacramento. And we have been, FaceTiming for years. She reads about everything I write and gives me feedback. And we had never met in person.
Oh, interesting. That's my old stomping grounds. I was born in the Bay Area.
Mm.
So my husband and I lived probably about an hour from Sacramento for years and years
It's
before we moved out here.
a lovely area. Like we took a trip up to Tahoe.
We lived
Spent
near
like just
Tahoe.
we
Yeah.
spent a few hours just sort of driving around Tahoe. It was freezing cold the day we were there, so cold. And then we took a day trip into San Francisco, and I loved it. I love seeing her, and for the first time, and hugging her, and sitting in her office, reading her books that I love in her office on her lounge.
Nice.
And then having those days in that day in San Francisco, and it was just, I feel like I had 3 distinct holidays,
Yeah.
and like, and they all had highlights, and they all had something for me to take away from. And I just loved it, and I just want to go back.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do is go back.
Sweet. Sweet. So what's next for you on the writing? You have the Christmas box came out in July, and you know
Yes.
that is unusual. Why? I'm switching gears on you real quick here.
Yeah.
Why did you choose July and not to release it in November when you probably would get more of a Christmas hit for it?
Well, Christmas in July is quite popular. Down in
That's true.
Australia, it is popular
It is
because
here too. It is here
yeah.
too.
So, and I figured, well, it can have 2. I could advertise it twice,
Right.
basically. And so I didn't expect anything big from it in a July release, and it's the first thing I've ever written. So I know not to, expect, bestsellers or anything like that. Like people, the average writer, I'm pretty sure it's basically 7 books before you start getting real traction, and have a backlist before and then that's typical, and that's okay. And I'm happy with that. And I was happy to play the long game. I just want to put out books at a pace that I can work with and still put out quality. So that's the key. Like there's putting out lots of books, but are they quality? Right. And then there's, if you don't put enough out, sometimes you can be forgotten by your readers. So there's that trying to find that sweet spot.
Right.
I mean, and I'm not a super fast writer. I'm not super slow, but I'm not super fast. And I'm okay with that too. I think most of being a writer is just being okay with where you're at and what your skills are, and go, you know what, I'm not a super fast writer, and that's okay. You don't have to be, you don't need to compare yourself. I mean, everyone does, but you don't need to. You just remind yourself, no, you know what, God's got my journey. I'm doing something.
Right. You're just stepping into the journey he's already pre-planned for you.
Yeah, that's right. And it's going to go how it's going to go.
So what's next for you?
So I am writing the Christmas Box Volume 2. That's going to release, I think, September next year. And then I am releasing another book in July next year, part of a series written by Aussie authors set in Washington State. So it's called the Trinity Lakes series. And
okay. And you said that's coming out when?
July.
The first one?
Yes. Well, mine's number 4 or 5 in the series. So there are other authors releasing earlier in the year. Gotcha. And that's July's my slot. And I thought joining a series is always a good way for everyone to reach more readers. Everyone gets to write a nice book. And and as a reader of Christian fiction myself and romance, I love reading a book series, and I don't care if it's written by other authors. You just want to stay in that world.
In that series. Yeah, you want, and you say, okay, yeah. So I'm trying to write this down because I want to put it in your show notes and let everybody know. Okay. So you have Trinity Lake series is the name of the series. Your particular book in that series, did you say that and I missed it because I was so busy writing notes?
No, it's okay. It's called Right in Front of You.
Right in front of you. Okay. Thank you. I just want to be able to get this out on your notes so people can follow along and get that. Yeah. Be prepared for that.
So yeah, I'm excited about next year, about having 2 books out. It's just exciting. I've got plans in place for book releases through to 2027.
Oh, nice.
There's just some of them haven't been written yet, but I know that I need to write them. Others are ones I have to rewrite or fix. So as I said, like in July, I went from, writing a couple of hours a day to now I do like I work like 6 to 7 hours a day now. I've like made it into a part-time. Yeah, and it happened very quickly, and I think it took me a couple of months to transition the mindset. Like,
Right.
oh, okay, because I had to, like, I'm learning how to manage BookFunnel. I'm still figuring out Amazon ads. I'm still like learning how to, get back to people in a better manner. Like just all this kind of stuff that you
Right.
didn't have to
Little
do
things
before.
yeah, these little things that aren't actually part of writing as much as it's part of the business of writing.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So are you
And learning how to balance the time.
yeah, that's a hard one. Are you a seat of the pants or are you a plotter?
I'm in between.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of writers are probably in between.
Yeah.
So I always know the beginning, the middle, the end, and then I like to just kind of figure my way to those major plot points. And sometimes those plot points actually change. Like I used to try and plan out my novels, and it's like I took the joy out of the experience for me. I'm like, I can't do this, so I just stopped.
Well, it's
I'm
not as
like, there's no
exciting. I
point.
mean, I find when I'm writing quite almost every book I've ever written, even though I have a somewhat plotted out,
It changes.
character shows up that I did not plan on. They
Yes.
just show up.
Yes.
And they end up becoming
Yes.
one of the most intricate parts of the story. So then it
I know.
throws your whole plot
Yes. Yep. It
sideways.
absolutely does. Yep.
Yeah.
Or a character you staying with, a character says something and you're like, oh, I
I
didn't
didn't
know
think
you
that.
thought that.
Mhm.
Right. Well, now we have to go with that.
Exactly. They talk to you. The characters talk to you.
Yes. They do. They do. And that's the fun of it. So I don't bother planning. I'm like, nah. Or what I'll do is, if like the one I'm writing right now, I'm halfway through. And so I stopped a couple of days ago just to plan out the next 6 or 7 chapters, because I could see where at the point where I was at, that yes, this is where I wanted to go, and it was just nice to have it written down very vaguely, but written down. So if I ever got stuck, like, oh no, that's what I'm trying to do. And it helps with the writing at the moment too, to make sure I get down the words, because sometimes if I don't do that, I won't be able to like I'll just sit there for 20 minutes staring at the screen, and I've lost 20 minutes of writing time.
Yeah, understandable. And where do you get your inspiration from?
Um, oh goodness. Right now, most of it's just been sitting in my head. I think though the Christmas box, the Christmas box was very particular. It came from. Have you seen the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I watched that movie when it first came out, and I really liked it. And I just had this idea just before I started writing. What if there's a box, and the box is full of postcards from Christmas time through the years? And I thought, oh, and the box could go between couples. And the original idea was, it was a box that was handed down from like generation to generation in the family. And that idea didn't stick. And then I thought, well, a box that goes between people, let's have it go between decades. And I thought, let's do like 1995, because the 90s is so in right now. And I love, the 90s. And so I'm a 90s girl. And so, putting in all these references to Clueless and having to remember all the fashion from the 90s was heaps of fun to research. And it was just fun. And so I thought, oh, well, let's just have the box. And I wanted it to be like a little bit magical. So how does the box, like, it's fairly obvious how the box gets places, but at the same time, it's not. So there's a little bit of mystery for, oh, how does the box get there? But if you look at it, you can trace it pretty easily. But the hard part was, I decided just before I got ready to publish the Christmas box, I decided I'm going to write the Christmas box volume 2. So I had to then go through where the box was in those 3 decades, because the Christmas box is going to be set in the intervening decades,
Right.
in the in-between decades.
Gotcha.
So I had to make sure the box, when it went from 1995 to 2005, it's now going to go somewhere else in 2000. So I'm like, I have to make sure it can still get to its original places while going somewhere else.
Oh wow, that's half the problem right there.
I had my editor who helped me brainstorm. I said, all right, we're doing this again. come with me and help me figure this out. So we're there like writing on this piece of paper, trying to figure out, okay, so the box was here, we want it to go here, and it needs to get back to here. Yeah, we can totally do that. Let's you know, let's make it work. But yeah, it's been really fun to plan out. So yeah, inspiration wise though, sometimes I'll see someone or I hear a voice or I'll read something, just anywhere really. Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh,
That's a
what a
great
great
idea.
idea. Then you write it down and you go, it's not that great when you look at it in the morning.
You're fully awake. Sounds a lot better when you're in a half dream state, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
It sounded so good in my head last night. And light of day, it's just not quite as good. Wow. Well, this has been fun. I'm excited when you come up with your Christmas box volume 2. I'd love it if you could come back on and
I
share
will.
that would be wonderful. And then any of your books, Jessica, you know how to get a hold of me. So you just get a hold of me and let me know. Would love to have you back on. Pray that
it's been fun.
Pray that your book will be well received. And
thank you
for that. And do you have any last parting words of wisdom for wannabe writers?
Wannabe writers, just write your book. Don't self-edit too much. Just get the first draft out. Just having writing the end. So many people start a book and never get to the end because they just keep editing what they've got. Don't worry about that. It's your first draft. It's going to need lots of editing. Sorry, everyone. And just write the end and feel that joy of saying, I did that. I wrote the end. Because that is a huge deal. And even after you've written 4 books or 5 books or 10 books, writing the end is still it's a big achievement.
It is a big achievement.
Like if you physically hold it, you're like, I wrote that. Like I used to print out my first drafts and have them bound and just hold it. And like, I did that. That came out of my head. And now it's in paper. Even if no one's going to read this particular thing, I did that. And also, one other thing, think of yourself as an author way before you're published. Just, you know what, I'm a writer and I'm an author, and claim it. Just claim it.
Yeah.
Because you are. If you're if you love writing and you want to write stories, you are an author. You don't need to be paid to write, to be told you're an author. No, you already are one. So tell yourself that, write the end, and write another book.
That's right. Keep writing. That's the thing is you can't just I had an agent at one time said, don't, when you get done with the book and we're going to pitch it, but you don't stop. You just keep on writing and keep on writing. You don't wait. You just keep on writing.
No, you just keep on writing. Yep. Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's up and down. Oh my goodness, it's so up and down. There's so many highs and lows. And writers we're all really insecure. Like, what if no one likes my writing? Because it is like it's putting a part of yourself out there.
It is. It's like showing your baby to the world, and if they don't love your baby, you know, everybody thinks their baby's beautiful.
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. So it's quite vulnerable.
Yeah.
But you know, write the end, call yourself an author, and keep writing.
Good advice. Well, this has been great, Jessica. I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. And this will broadcast on November 2nd. So we'll have everything. I'll put on in the show links. You guys will have her website. You'll have her Amazon author page, and then anything else I can wheedle out of her before I actually publish it. So looking forward to seeing the Christmas box and reading it for myself. I see it's on Kindle Unlimited for those of you that are not aware. You know, I love Kindle Unlimited because I'm cheap, and I'll pay for that Kindle Unlimited. And the idea that I can have these books and right away and be reading them is exciting.
How many books does it allow you to have?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I haven't run out yet. I mean, my husband and I went to Israel. Actually, we got back from Israel 2 days before the bombing started.
Wow.
We were very, very close. I mean, 2 days before. And he actually got sick in Israel and near the end, and had a fever. And if I had gotten whatever he caught, which I did not, it was God's grace, we wouldn't have gotten out of there.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you guys got out.
Oh, we are too. So, but that being said, when we are looking for books on Israel, there's books in Kindle Unlimited on Israel. You can find all kinds of books on Kindle Unlimited. So, you know, when you put it out there, and I don't know if readers understand this, when you get a book on Kindle Unlimited, you feel like, oh, I'm cheating and I'm getting, you know, the author doesn't get anything. Most authors make more on that Kindle Unlimited book than they do if you buy like an ebook, because they get paid per page turned. You read
Yes,
that whole book and they get paid pretty well for that. So don't feel like you're shortchanging authors when you get a book on Kindle Unlimited. I just want to plug
yes,
that out there because it is a help. It is a help.
yes, it is. It is a help, and just it's actually kind of it's kind of wild to see the numbers go up. You're like, oh, someone's reading my book like
I
now.
know.
Some
It's very exciting to think
really
about.
kind
It
of
is.
cool.
It is very cool. So you can get Jessica's book on Kindle Unlimited. You can buy the paperback. You can buy the ebook. They're all available on Amazon. And I will
That's
share
right.
the website with you as well. And I guess that's about all we have to talk about today, but we will be back with you, Jessica. We'd love to have you back again sometime soon.
I'll come back. Don't you worry.
That's
Thanks for
great.
having me.
You're so welcome. It's what a blessing it was.